Namaste, and thank you for joining me for the last final installment of our 5-part Breathing into Wellness mini course. Over the last 4 segments, we've investigated the relationship between the breath and the nervous system, and how by changing the breath consciously, we are able to then in return influence the state of nervous system activation. We've also examined that these different breathing practices are not merely technique. That is not just what we do, but how we do it, or the attitude we approach the technique with. The key attitudes that we've been exploring have been patience and tenderness. And these are the 2 key attributes that help us formulate a very different relationship between us and our breath. And it is this relationship that helps to deepen that aspect of safety. But safety is not merely the absence of threat. Safety is something that we need to actively bring about through this deep, tender relationship, one that actually listens and has the intention to nurture. And this final installment, that's precisely what we'll be looking to deepen.
So much of our sense of safety deals with the type of relationship we're having. Take a moment to actually even consider what it means to feel safe. When we actually experience this, the scenario that may occur around. And you may see how quickly it tends to involve a relationship rather than an activity as such. Making a glorious meal can be a wonderful thing, but it does not instill the same degree of safety as somebody meeting us with tenderness, with attentiveness, with a clear intention that cherishes our well-being, that enables us to be exactly as we are. After all, isn't that what we've ever really wanted in a relationship? To be met in our vulnerability as we are, exactly as we feel in this moment. Imagine how that would feel if you were to have somebody external to you offering you that opportunity, that compassion that meets you precisely as you are without judgment or criticism, that doesn't try to talk over you and change how you feel, doesn't want to just give you advice and solve your problem, but actually longs to listen and understand you for where you're at. Imagine how that might feel. This last installment of the course is very much about bringing that in for ourselves. We've established in earlier sessions that there is in fact a relationship between us and our breath, and that the more we learn to work with patience and tenderness, the quicker the breath is to cooperate and downregulate, to soften and bring lightness. But the next step in deepening this relationship is to cultivate our capacity to meet the breath free of agenda, to give it your full attention without wanting anything from it, without craving for some different outcome, without even wanting that sense of ease to come through, just to meet it as it is. Because anything less than that implies a certain degree of threat. How often have you noticed that as you have met the breath, there is this urge to comment around it, to try to control it? Why do you think we would ever want to control something in the first place? The urge to control or change implies right from the beginning that there is dissatisfaction. Because if we were happy with how the body were breathing, we would not want to change it. But finding it insufficient, inadequate, not worthy, we choose to make it something different. Therefore, again, asserting that this is not good enough. This threat itself builds a different relationship, as opposed to one that is still, is tender and accepting, that says, you are exactly as you are now, and I embrace you for that. And so when we move to the practice, the whole point is to just allow the body to breathe in precisely any manner it does. Our role is merely to hold that space as a loved one, to feel into each and every breath, and to be there as a tender companion. Another name for this practice is mindfulness. And we know through the research how effective mindfulness has proven itself with managing anxiety, depression, all of our different mental perturbances, but also our physiological states of well-being. And in fact, many of the different contemplative or esoteric practices all hinge around this particular aspect of a practice, our relationship with ourselves and the attitudes with which we use to cultivate this relationship toward a safe and positive internal atmosphere. So when we approach the practice, be very careful to observe when we do choose to control it, the breath. And every time you notice this urge to control or react in any other way, take a slow, full breath in and freely let it go with a gentle sigh, becoming effortless once more, passively sat back, open to the body breathing in any other way it would choose to subsequently. And know that this relationship is only possible if we are attentive. Because if we are not attentive, then we are not connected, and there's no means of transferring this patience and tenderness. So moment to moment as we go through the practice, look to stay with a very simple appreciation that the body is still breathing. And let that be enough as you notice breath to breath, to breath to breath, all the while meeting the breath as this significant other, which in essence shouldn't be so far from the truth, considering what would happen if we were to not be breathing. So let's prepare for the practice. Sitting comfortably or lying comfortably, take a moment to start adjusting into comfort, being very careful to scan the body from the feet all the way up to the top of the head, addressing every segment, every part, and every need the body may have. And then having done this, allow the body to be still, to be fully supported by chair or floor, and to have the breath help you release into the posture, experiencing a slower, gentler, fuller breath in within this body resting, freely letting breath go, gentle sigh, full release, experiencing that in body too. And continue to use these releasing breaths, breath by breath, in the most light-hearted manner. The pace for your inhalation becomes more and more like how you might experience a Sunday leisurely stroll. And the exhalation as how you might experience yourself sinking into your favorite chair at the end of the day, that soft sigh signaling the end of all your efforts. It's time for rest. The more intimately connected to these experiences, the more the experience is reflected as a state of mind. And so too mind and thoughts can start to slow and still. And with these last 3 breaths, on exhalation, being very mindful to allow muscles of abdomen, chest, collarbones through neck to be totally passive. And at the end of this exhalation, have this sense of the mind sitting back, handing over control, becoming a bystander as you patiently wait to notice how the body now chooses to breathe of its own. Wait and watch with no agenda, not wanting the body to breathe in a certain way, not trying to avoid any particular experience. Stepping into that role of a steadfast companion that meets every breath with patience, with tenderness, appreciating the medium, the vehicle of this tenderness is our attention. Continually open and receptive to the experience of the body breathing. It is only natural that the mind may wander off from time to time. Bring tenderness and patience to that as well. And know that the moment you allow that to be without judgment or criticism is precisely when the space becomes available for you to patiently wait once again, for the breath to express itself, for its experience to be received as it is. If you notice the sensation of breath getting more labored, more active, then appreciate that surely it means that there's still some level of exertion to control there, some agenda, implying judgment and dissatisfaction, implanting threat. Feel free to take a few releasing breaths. So too, if you notice you're trying to control the breath in any way, choose to take a few releasing breaths and allow that exhalation to Wash all of that need for control away to release any degree of engagement you still hold. To then return to that soft, still space where we patiently wait to experience the next breath exactly as it is. Notice how it feels to do this for a little while, to not actually be involved in any technique of breath as such, but to refine our relationship with the breath as one of a loving companion, of true friendliness. Notice if this has an effect on you physically, mentally, emotionally. And then slowly start to reconnect with your environment. Know where you are before introducing movements to help you awaken. In your own time, coming out of your position, opening the eyes, know that the practice is now complete. Please appreciate that this change in relationship and this application of attention is not something that tends to happen overnight. It's a process. It takes time. It takes consistent practice, held in softness through the cultivation of our patience. So please, be patient with yourself and continue to use this practice at least once a day to deepen that relationship with ourselves so that the relationship we cultivate becomes one that actually soothes and nurtures. I hope you've enjoyed this 5-part course and that it's brought you some degree of ease and lightness, that it has helped you unburden to some degree at least. Namaste, everyone. Take care.